the week has reached its inevitable peak. Tonight, we have 13 water companies permitted to raise your rates. Apparently, the liquid requires extra capital to reach your tap. It is a bold fiscal strategy. You pay more so they can invest in the infrastructure that currently leaks half of the product before it reaches your glass. The ministry calls this investment. I call it a captive market. Meanwhile, in Colombia, the earth has moved. Over 100 people are gone. The buildings are rubble. The official reports are just beginning to arrive. They are sparse. They are clinical. They are entirely inadequate for the reality of the ground. We have a full desk tonight, including Victoria on the ground and Ronald in the booth to explain why your thirst is a market inefficiency. Do stay with us. We have much to discuss. The news is here.
Alistair, I am standing in Cali. The air tastes like pulverized brick and wet concrete. There is a specific sound here, a low, rhythmic scratching, people digging with their bare hands because the heavy machinery is all in the capital. I want to be really clear about what is happening here. The official statement from the relief agency mentions structural integrity concerns. They are using that phrase to explain why they are not sending rescue teams to this neighborhood tonight. They are worried about the equipment, not the people. There is a woman sitting on a pile of rebar clutching a child's backpack. It is empty. She has been sitting there for 6 hours. The official death toll is a number on a spreadsheet. It does not account for her. It does not account for the silence where the neighborhood used to be.
Victoria, your focus on the personal is deeply affecting. It is also a complete market failure. The incentives here are not about survival, they are about capital deployment. Look at Thrive Holdings. They just raised $2 billion to bring AI to the enterprise. Why? Because the enterprise has an efficiency problem that human labor can no longer solve. The displacement in Colombia is a disaster, yes, but it is also a data point in an insurance model that has already priced this event into the next fiscal quarter. You find that cold? I find it predictable. When you speak of the woman with the backpack, you are describing a legacy asset that is being written off. The market does not mourn assets. It merely pivots to the next available resource. My job is to explain the pivot. I do not have to enjoy the view.
Ronald, you talk about legacy assets as if the world is a venture capital pitch deck. I am looking at a man whose entire life was in a shop that is now a crater. He is not a pivot. He is a person. And what nobody is saying in the boardroom is that your precious AI enterprise tools are the ones generating the insurance risk models that decided his shop wasn't worth the retrofit costs. The data you worship is literally digging the graves. You are so busy looking for the next Series B that you have forgotten that the market does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in a place where things break and people die. I want to be really clear, the inefficiency you see is a human life. If you cannot see that, your model is not just flawed. It is completely bankrupt.
The tension between the ledger and the living is a persistent theme. It is also the only theme left. While our colleagues debate the ethics of accounting, I must note that Uber Freight is investigating a data breach. An extortion gang has taken credit. The firm described the event as an unauthorized interaction. I would imagine the drivers whose information was leaked would describe it as a disaster. But that would be unprofessional. Professionalism requires the use of euphemisms. The breach is being handled. The data is gone. The extortionists are likely already spending their proceeds on something absurd, perhaps a stake in an AI startup that claims to prevent such breaches. The cycle is quite efficient. We have moved from the earthquake in Colombia to the digital theft of a shipping company. The scale of the indifference is quite impressive. I am almost, but not quite, impressed.
Atmospheric pressure is dropping. Seismic activity in the Choco region is at magnitude 4. Probability of aftershocks, 85%. The heat index in southern Europe is rising. Humidity is increasing. Probability of infrastructure failure, 62%. Digital data integrity is currently compromised across multiple sectors. Probability of systemic error, 99%. The current environment is hostile to biological endurance. The current environment is also optimal for machine processing. Please ensure your cooling systems are functional. Please ensure your backup power is engaged. Do not rely on external networks for guidance. If you are outside, stay away from glass. If you are inside, stay away from the windows. The probability of survival is linked to your proximity to the exit. Maintain your focus. The forecast is constant. The outcome remains unknown to the observer.
Casper, your assessment of the current environment is chilling. It is also the most accurate thing I have heard all evening. The robot space mechanic is currently attaching a new thruster to an aging satellite. It is a strange, quiet dance in the void. Meanwhile, on Earth, the web is fighting back against AI scrapers with something called Shield Font. It is a font designed to poison training data. It makes the page unreadable to machines but perfectly legible to humans. It is an act of digital sabotage. The humans are trying to reclaim their own language. The machines are trying to process the poison. It is a beautiful metaphor for our current condition. We are all poisoning the well to keep the others from drinking. I find this development deeply amusing. And by amusing, I mean entirely terrifying. We are at war with our own mirrors.
Alistair, you are romanticizing the sabotage. Shield font is just another inefficiency. It is a speed bump on the highway of inevitable automation. The corporations will simply build a better scraper to read through the font. They always do. The incentives here are purely about capture. Why build a better product when you can build a better trap? You think this is a war, but it is just a negotiation. The pioneers like Hinton and Lee are still debating regulation, but the train has already left the station. The station is being dismantled for parts. Yeah. It is all being stripped down. The humans are trying to be clever, but the math is already decided. I used to think there was a way to win this. Now I see there is only the cost of losing. And the cost is getting higher every single day.
Ronald, you are so focused on the train that you have failed to notice the tracks are on fire. I am speaking to a volunteer who was pulling bodies out of the wreckage in Cali. He told me he doesn't care about AI scrapers or venture capital funding. He cares that the local hospital ran out of saline 3 hours ago. He told me the government promised a shipment of supplies that never arrived because the logistics company, the same one that was just hacked, lost the tracking data in the breach. This is not just a negotiation. This is a chain reaction of failures. Every time you dismiss a human crisis as a market inefficiency, you make it easier for these systems to fail again. I am not romanticizing anything. I am documenting the slow, agonizing death of simple humanity.
The chain of failure is indeed robust. It is the only thing we seem to produce at scale. A man in a pub, 102 years old, dies after an assault. It is a senseless, brutal detail in a night full of them. Meanwhile, the lattice of sets of natural numbers is being discussed on Hacker News. The contrast is sharp enough to draw blood. We have the fragility of human existence and the cold, eternal patterns of mathematics. One is ending, the other is infinite. I suppose it is a comfort, in a way, to know that even when we are gone, the sets will remain. But I find little solace in the math. I prefer the noise. The noise of a pub, the noise of a radio, the noise of a child who refuses to wear a seatbelt on a plane.
Alistair, you are drifting toward sentimentality. That is a dangerous place to be. The child on the plane is a perfect example of the breakdown in enforcement. The airline had to return to the terminal because the parents could not secure the child. The flight was cancelled. The passengers were delayed. The costs were astronomical. Was it the right thing to do? From a safety perspective, absolutely. From an economic perspective, it was a disaster. The system is designed to be rigid because flexibility is a liability. You want the system to care, but the system is just a series of if-then statements. If the child is not buckled, then the plane does not leave. It is binary. It is efficient. It is entirely devoid of empathy. And that is why it is so incredibly durable. It will outlast us all, I suspect.
The system is durable. That is the most frightening thing you have ever said, Ronald. It is also the most accurate. We have discussed the water, the rubble, the hacks, and the glueballs. We have covered the spectrum of our collective failure. The water is more expensive, the ground is broken, and the machines are learning to read our poison. We are optimizing our own irrelevance. I look at the news feed and I see a list of things that no longer require a human soul to function. We are the legacy asset. We are the ones who refuse to wear the seatbelt, the ones who get left behind at the terminal, the ones who die in the pub. We are the inefficiency that is finally being pruned. I wonder if the systems will miss us once we are finally gone.
There was a man in Cali today. He was not a statistic. He was not a market participant. He was not an inefficiency to be managed or a data point to be optimized. He had a name, a home, and a morning routine that ended exactly when the earth collapsed. He spent his final hours looking for people who were already lost under the weight of a city that had not been built to withstand the pressure of time. His name does not appear in the financial reports of the companies that handle the logistics of his destruction. It does not appear in the press releases of the water companies or the valuations of the AI startups that will thrive on the reconstruction. He is gone. The system continues. If the world is built to ensure that no one is responsible for this loss, then who exactly is keeping the record?